And now it's time for Let's Get Cozy with Larry Wargo and Louis Falcon. And now your host, Larry Wargo.
Hello and welcome to Let's Get Cozy with Larry Wargo. I am your host, Larry Wargo. We'd like to thank you for joining us today. We have a wonderful, hopefully this is going to be the start of a wonderful series of shows called Larry Wargo's Showcase of the Arts. We have three marvelous guests today, all distinguished artists themselves. We have Mark Hutsky, Mark Schultz, and Rob Letteri. Thank God it's not three Marks. Anyway, our first guest today is Rob Letteri. Rob, I'd like to thank you very much for showing up today.
Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure, really. Rob is a distinguished photographer from around the area and a bit of a world traveler, is that correct?
Been around,
okay,
a couple places.
We'll get to that in a moment, but Rob does a lot of black and white photography, I believe?
Right, yeah. And some color, yeah.
Now, you started in doing weddings or not?
No, photographing bicycle racing.
Oh, you started with bicycle racing?
Yes,
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us how that came about?
Well, I was about 13 years old, and my father had this fancy camera gear that he never used, and the thing that really attracted me was a fisheye lens, because everything was all distorted.
Oh, and they are neat, aren't they?
And yeah, well, it's kind of like a wide, you can see your head and your
We
feet.
should get one of those, I think.
You should get one. We can get everything here. So anyway, but it kind of branched off from there. I'd get the camera, and I used to photograph the faster, older people racing after my brother and I raced. And that was it.
Faster, older.
Faster,
older.
You
raced the faster, older people?
Later when we got a little older.
Were they really old?
I don't know. Then they seemed really old.
Yeah.
But then again, now, I'm in the category where
they're like
they
30
seem
or something now.
30-year-olds, oh.
Maybe,
I remember
yeah.
those days. I was anyway.
Right. Yeah.
So then it branched off, and now you were doing a lot of that bicycle in California and things like that, weren't you?
Yeah, a little bit, but mostly the racing was down in Allentown at the Trexlertown Velodrome.
Correct. Yes.
And then racing really all over the country, and so it afforded us the opportunity to shoot a lot. And so before I even knew what I was doing with a camera, I was actually very quick with it. So that's where the weddings came in.
So now, what made you decide to settle into this area?
Well, I was born here, and
okay.
I think if I hadn't traveled as much as I have, I probably would have moved from here, just by curiosity.
I would have moved
Okay,
from here a
all
long
right.
ago.
By experience at all, you decided to come back to your
Yeah, I think having seen a few places, I've been in 40-some countries.
Oh,
and,
wow.
So I think having gained a little perspective, it helps me appreciate it around here a bit more.
Yes. Now, there is a very interesting story about you that I want to get to later after we show some clips of your photography. But you have a show coming up. Now, it's in November, correct?
Yeah, it's no, it's in.
I'm sorry.
Well, it's close. It's in January.
The 21st.
Adam's Speed.
Yeah, it's 2000.
Whatever that. Yeah, there's some sort of celebration has come by. Anyway, so but now it's an extensive overview of your
actually,
work. Actually,
I don't know if it's extensive, but it spans the last 15 or 16 years.
Well,
and
that's pretty extensive.
it's all black and white images, mostly of people, which is my main subject matter.
Yes, we like people.
You can't be sure everybody's a person.
People such as yourself, luminaries.
Right,
luminary,
right. Thank you.
Yes.
So let's bring some. Oh, it's up already. Okay,
There's a luminary,
that's your grandmother, correct?
Yep. Outer Banks, and we drove around with a Jeep and a rocking chair, and she said, "I'll do anything you want." So I said, "Okay."
Excellent. Now Lou brings up a good point. Did you endanger her life by doing this?
Not really. No, she said to tell me if anything was coming, and so I said.
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah. Well, she is my grandmother.
Well, right, and she may be one of those people that like jump in front of trains. And,
I've never seen her do that, but.
Can we see some? Oh, here come some other ones.
Yeah.
Is that your grandmother?
At a very early age.
Right. You were around then, I guess. It's a long-standing relationship.
Well, it was
now,
long
is that a snake?
Well, this woman, she walked into the studio one day and said, well, she called me and said, "Would you photograph me with my snake?" And not knowing much about the snake, I said, "Sure."
Yeah.
And so she showed up, and it was kind of wrapped around her back with like a formation. She didn't show up like this, though. But
yeah, I guess.
Now, are you married?
Yes.
Does this ever pose a problem? People showing up with snakes?
I try not to broadcast it,
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry for that then.
That's okay. No.
What have we got?
Well, I wouldn't show the picture.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh boy.
Anyway, grandmother again, correct?
Yeah. This time she's. This is at the point where she said, "Do you want me to get off my rocker?"
And was that is that the name of the photograph?
I don't know what the name is. I think it's just "Woman on the Beach."
Yeah, you don't like to put the name.
Because you can make the photograph what you want.
Oh, that's BB,
There's
isn't
a
it?
man in pain there.
I'm sorry, Lou?
BB King?
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
beautiful.
Baby King. Here
Look
we
at
are.
him.
I'm good friends with him, you know.
Yeah, he knows me.
Yeah. Oh, well, who's dropping names? Anyway, yes, he's a wonderful man. Quite a talented musician, as I hear.
Several
too.
children, 20-some children, I think.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah,
By the normal means?
pretty normal. Yeah.
The blues will bring on children.
But he, that was at the Paramount Theater a couple years ago, which is downstairs in Madison Square Garden in New York. And I happen to know the person who was in charge of events there, and she said, anytime you want tickets, give me a call. So it's like the 6th game of the playoffs, for basketball. It's like, Knicks, do you have Knicks tickets? And she got them.
So, can you hook me up with that?
She left to Boston.
Anyway, any connection I
Life
can
goes
get.
on.
Let me move this out of the way now. On to your world travels. Now, 40 countries is quite impressive.
40-some.
I must say that you even outdo me in the amount of countries. I consider myself, quite of a world traveler, a party person,
well,
but
this,
I never
this
make.
jacket, where's that from?
This is from a shop here in town. Actually,
Oh, really?
I don't like to go too crazy on clothing because I'm always spending money on airfare and things like that.
Right.
I slum as far as my clothing. So, but
Yeah,
it's a nice jacket. So now I hear there's this crazy story about you getting arrested in India. Now, would you elaborate on that?
I don't know where you heard about that, but it's, well, I went to India actually for the 2nd time on a Rotary exchange, and that is basically a sort of a goodwill exchange amongst professionals in 2 paired districts. In our case, the Northeast Pennsylvania area and an area of Bombay, India. So we went over there for about 6 weeks, and at the end, after making various contacts and things like that, this one host family actually hired me to take pictures of their buildings. They were in the window business, and they did all the windows on these skyscrapers. So the guy who's in charge of it gave me a guide and said, go out, take these pictures. So we drove around all over the place. And I said, over on that peninsula would be a great view of these skyscrapers. And so we drove around. We were engulfed in conversation, and then next thing you know, I said, well, let's pull out right over here, and the view's perfect. The light's great. We get out. Next thing you know, I take a few pictures. We're heading back to the car, and we're surrounded by people. And so it was, sometimes you just learn not to react, but, guys in rifles, guns, etc.
I can imagine.
And
Yeah.
I guess we were on military property, so we didn't know that.
Oh, that's not good. I didn't even know India had a military. Really.
Yeah, I didn't either.
They, they don't seem too well equipped.
Well, it's the world's largest democracy, so
Is
you
it
got to
really?
have something.
Yeah.
It is.
Now, see, you learn things new every day.
That's amazing.
And
I
from
know
World
that.
Travelers, they're the people
And,
who
well,
learn from.
yeah.
Wow.
Nightline. It's either that or Nightline.
Nightline?
With World Travelers Nightline, same
Yeah,
thing.
Sure.
same thing.
Now, so what are you doing to fill your time nowadays? What kind of photography are you enjoying the most?
Well, now I'm actually experimenting a lot with Polaroid SX70 manipulations. You take the picture, which in some countries they call a now for now. You take the picture now, so you can have it for now.
Okay.
Anyway, after it's done, you can push your keychain or anything down on it and make different designs.
Oh,
so
really?
that's something that's one of the ways to pass time.
And so what the finished product is?
It's a small image, but it's in color, and it has sort of a semi-surrealistic look to it. And some people say it looks like a Van Gogh painting. It has
Okay,
lots of
all right.
swirls and things like that.
Wow.
So you're breaking away from the black and white.
Oh, not really. It's just something that is something that's included in everything else.
Okay, all right.
So the whole
Wonderful.
part.
Oh, well, nowadays, oh,
Right.
I should have brought that up really. 'Cause,
God would be
well,
in there.
Okay, I think that just about does it. But anyway, Rob Letteri, Rob, thank you very much for
Thanks,
showing up.
Rob.
Thanks for having me.
We'll, thank you, and we'll be right back with, I believe Mark Schultz is next. Yes, thank you very much.